Christian Lavolsi, welcome to the hot seat. Are we live?
Yeah, but there's an error
You look
starting.
puzzled.
No, there's an error starting on Facebook, but we are streaming live to LinkedIn and to YouTube. There you go, Simone. I've just checked.
Lovely, lovely. Welcome to the hot seat. It's Tuesday. We're back here to have chat. I've got a good topic for you today. I really want to dive into all things decision making. This has been prominent for us with our clients and some things that have come up in the last few days. So a good topic to dive into. But before we get into that, what's been your win, Christian? What's something exciting that's happened in your world in the past 7 days?
Ooh, there's always something exciting happening in my world, Simone. Um, I guess probably what's really exciting at the moment is we've got leads every day and customers every week. So, you know, I kind of stole that catchphrase from Taki, but sometimes I don't even think he even would listen to what we have to say. But I listen to what he has to say, and I think that's taken a bit of work in progress to get a really steady flow of leads every day, and then converting customers every week. And it's what we teach in customers in demand, but it's really neat that it's working after its 13th iteration. Actually, it wasn't 13; it's three, but yeah, so that's a big win. The other win,
Feels like 13.
I always like using the number 13. Everyone thinks it's unlucky, but I love it. But look, the other big win. Sorry, I'm just getting text messages. I'm just turning my phone to D&D. The other big win is it actually hasn't happened yet, but I'm super excited. I'm going over to Manila to our office on Thursday to hang out with our team, and we've got a massive celebration and awards retreat booked for the weekend. So it's going to be great fun. We've got people flying in from everywhere, and yeah, and we're just organising the beverage list. And it's funny how I'm the one that gets asked, "What do you want to drink?" It's not about me. It's about you guys. So stop asking me. They're just such, our team are just they're so amazing, and they're always like worried about what I want. And it's like it's not about what I want. It's what you guys want. We're celebrating you, and we're celebrating the excellent performances of team members, and but it just puts a huge smile on my face. And we just had
Yeah.
that meeting earlier, just and Claude has got everyone like all raised up, and yeah, so I always love it. I go every year at this time. We do the same event. I normally do a trip in February too, but I didn't this year because I was going away for 4 weeks to Europe, and I thought, well,
Yeah.
with all the flying I do around the
Bit of a
country already,
stretch.
it was a bit of a stretch. So normally that's just a pure work for 7 days, but I'm also catching up with some of my really best friends, Justin and Crystal, on Friday night for dinner, and so that's gonna be great. I haven't seen them for a year, and so that's gonna be great. They live there. Justin and I studied hotel management uh, 30 years ago, and we've been friends ever since.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's very
it's
cool.
it's,
That's
it's
very
really cool.
cool.
So yeah, what about you, Simone? What are your wins?
Oh, look, it's actually been a pretty tricky week. As you know, I had my little Blake in hospital and
Yeah.
ambulance rides and all the rest of that. So I think I'm just going to go off the skirt tails of our clients this week and say that my win is seeing so much success already come through from our mastermind, from our Momentum a weekend that we had in Brisbane, which was a month ago now, and seeing people already start to hit their first lot of priorities. We've got our game plan session coming up this Friday, and to already be hearing of people getting through those steps on their 90-day plans, that's definitely been my win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's true. You're right. I mean, I think my next catchphrase is going to be, uh, you know, um, learnings every, intensive once a quarter, and wins every week. Like it's kind
Yeah.
of they have the 24-hour WhatsApp support group. It's just off the charts, isn't it? It's like just people are
Yeah.
just like bang, 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 and the wins are real. And I think it's also and probably another win to that. We're constantly improving what we do.
Yeah.
Evolve is the program, which now's going to be getting a brand new, all the new the new branding has come out, and it's going to be called Growth School, and we've been planning that for 4 months, and so it's kind of like, yep, we're now ready, and and it's kind of like, what I say to you guys today. I want people to turn up to class, no truancy allowed, because people that turn up to class outperform those who don't. Now, the great thing is that,
Mm.
yes, you can turn up for the lives, but we do have, the recordings for later, but you don't get to do the work. And so now
Yeah.
we're really, and the reason why we want to bring it to school is I hated school. Like, sorry, I should correct it. I loved school because it was my social activity,
Yeah.
and it's where I got to play sport, and it's where I got to be a hero. But from an academic perspective, I didn't pay any attention, and so we've kind of
Mm.
created a brand new way of learning that is very, very practical. And so yeah, wow, it's funny you said. So there's another win. There's plenty of wins when we talk about our customers because they excite us. So great win, Simone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as much as we have wins, we always have lessons as well, right? And it's kind of it is the yin and the yang to the wins
Yep.
and the lessons. What's a lesson that you've had or that you could share with our audience today?
Oh, look, I think one that it never ceases to amaze me. There is absolutely no substitute for speed and for care, right? In business and getting people to understand cadences, how to move faster, is certainly a lesson. And I've got to find, I'm constantly looking for ways to inspire and motivate rather than demotivate people when it comes to that, because I work at such speed that most people, and because we were talking about it earlier, no, very few people can keep up. And it's in a way I've got to understand that I'm not normal, but I also get frustrated that I can move at such speed, right? And so that's one of the big things. The big lesson is kind of like, how do I get people to understand that moving at speed is really important, and also having a level of care when you do that, right? Because you can't. It's not just like, and that's why I put them together, because I've seen people that
Mm.
move at speed and literally just create chaos. So
Yeah.
speed is the speed at which you go to is different to everyone, but it's more the speed of how you're thinking, how you're taking action. And so I guess for me, we're already building that into our programs where we do game planning and accountability, because we're trying to force them to think smaller, to think bigger, to think smaller, to think bigger, so they can take action more often. And that's what's getting the
Yeah.
cadences up. But I've got to also do that for my own team, in my own businesses, because I'm sure our regular listeners know, I don't have the privilege of just being a full-time advisor. I also run a handful of companies with employees all over the world. So it's a very different ballgame, but it's one that allows me to stay very connected to the challenges predominantly that our own customers face, particularly the bigger
Mm.
customers, that are doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 30 million. And I think that's also another lesson for me, is that we learnt in the past, is how do we help people navigate through those stages? Well, for me, it's easy because I have been through all of those stages, not once, but 80 times, right? And so
Mm.
you kind of go, okay, well, that's why I can row the boat faster. The row the boat faster exercise that we make our clients
Yeah.
do, it's what you're doing, making the boat row faster. If it's not, then why are you doing it? And
Yeah.
what could you do better? So that by the way, listeners, the row the boat concept is based on the British Olympic rowing team, where they hadn't won an Olympic medal for a very long time, and that was the one
Yeah.
thing they attributed to their success, was they made a deal. We will
Does
only
it
do
make the boat
things,
go faster?
and so
Yeah.
basically they all stopped drinking beer. They stopped drinking anything, because they realized, well, shit, that doesn't help the boat go faster. I mean, if it was me, I would
Mm.
have been smarter. I said, well, I'll drink rocket fuel. That should help me row faster. But the truth is, it's not the case. So they all created this accountability around rowing the boat faster. And it also helped them with their decision-making process, which was really cool. The other lesson that I'm always learning is that so many people fail to make decisions. And they fail to make those decisions, Simone, because they get stuck or they're overwhelmed, and mainly because they have no one to share the burden or even the opportunity with. So I think for me, and this is both generous and selfish, giving this lesson, is I'm surrounded by people, mentors and coaches and advisors, and I pay for that privilege. And yet most people go, but you're the advisor of advisors, and it's like, yeah, but you've got to find someone that you trust and value. You know, one of my big confidence has been a man by the name of Eric Granger. Eric has been everything from you know, chair of multiple companies, sports med, the University of South Australia. He's been on the council of them, to startup robotics companies and IT companies. General manager of private health insurance company Bupa, and he's been my mentor. Oh man, we were talking about this the other day. It's like 20, 25 years. And
Wow.
I've been privy. He was the head of the chair of Rundle Moore Authority and economic councils, and so whenever I want to really go and unpack, and it's funny because now when we unpack, he's kind of asking me. So we've got a partial role reversal. He's on chairman of K Brothers Wines. Anyone who has not tried their basket press Shiraz, it is phenomenal. It's in McLaren Vale. They make excellent wines, family business, and I don't have any ownership in it, but I buy their booze, and it is excellent. The value for money, the Grenache, but Eric's been instrumental in helping that family business, and so you've got to have people around you, and that's just one example. I've
Mm.
got other wonderful examples. My dear friend Wilson, who is also happens to be my knee surgeon, is a dear family friend. Tony Keynes from the athletics club, who mentored me as a young athlete. When I was the school champion of athletics for the club. Tony's been able to take me through and just teach me how to be a better human being. So even though that was,
Mm.
it's not business related, yet he was a super well accomplished businessman in his own right. Governor of
Wow.
St. Peter's College for many, many years, and got me onto the old scholars board to drive mentorship and systems and processes. And I did my
Yeah.
8 years tenure there. So
And I
yeah,
think we all know that business
mm,
and personal is not something separate, right? If you're true in your entrepreneurship, it
yeah,
is one and the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
And
surround
that
yourself
really
though.
leads us into, oh,
Yeah.
go.
Sorry, I'm just saying you got to surround yourself with those really good people, right? And you got to go out searching for them, right? Like it's like
Mm.
if you're going to go and hire an advisor or a coach, you got to go and search. Don't just bloody hire the first person you meet because you've got FOMO, right? Like really understand,
Mm.
has that person got? And I think this is the lesson. You know, get an advisor that has its own tribe. Really, really
Mm.
important. And that for me took me a really long time to learn, even me, because I'd always gone to individual people, and then I've like gone whoa, and so being with my coaches community, my advisors community, just meeting the most incredible other people who do what I do, but at a totally different level, and do different things. But it's just mind blowing because you learn from
Yeah.
one another, not just from his expertise or her expertise, but from the collective. And that's kind of
Yeah.
the best thing that we've built in our program now, on the back end of seeing that, but also on the back end of your experience when you were with Kerwin Ray and K2.
Mm.
Being able to bring that dynamic of community has made a significant difference and elevated people's successes. That's what I truly believe. So anyway, that's the
Yeah.
ultimate lesson.
And it's quite funny, isn't it? Even the people in our community that never wanted to be in a group, they always wanted to do one to one. Now they're in the group and they absolutely love it. So it
Where's
ended in
Don?
being
Where's
a
Don?
good
Is he on
decision.
call? Where's Don? You
It
know?
ended up being a good decision for them. And that's the topic that I wanted to talk to you today
Okay.
is unpacking decision making. I think this is really interesting because we all have different fixed mindsets or growth mindsets around decisions, procrastination, all those kinds of things. So I wanted to ask you firstly, Christian, how do you make your most important decision? Is this something, and I already know this because we work together, but I'd love to unpack this for our audience. Is this really an intuitive thing? Do you really analytically think about your decision making processes? Where does it all start for you?
Oh look, it it's interesting because it's a little bit from everywhere, each column, but really for me, it's a
Mm.
strategic approach. Um, I because I think so fast and I can think on my feet, and because I have all of this experience, this very diverse experience, and I've got to say, for someone who was regarded as stupid at school, um, I'm probably now one of the most gifted memory people I know. Right, like my English
Mm.
language still isn't great, but the way my memory, the way my own brain retains information, it's a freaking sponge. And I think it's because of that level of care that I have for people. So even if we only do our quarterly intensives, I still remember almost everything that I said to someone. And it kind of freaks people out. People think it's really creepy sometimes because, I'll like spot someone's had a haircut and like it might be 2 mil off their hair. And until people get to know me, they're like, man, that's a bit weird. How do you like pick that shit up? And then they realize it's an endearing quality I have. I just care so much that I take a visual print. So when I'm making decisions, it is very strategic, but I had to give that caveat of all the reasons why, right? Like I've only met one other person that can do what I do in the world that I've traveled. Okay. So again, another caveat in my limited universe that I live in. And I've met people that are smarter than me. Absolutely. Meet shitloads of those, right? Always be the dumbest person in a room if you can. Right. But in terms of how I process and think. So when I'm answering this question, I'm probably going to not answer it exactly how I will do it because it won't apply to most people because they haven't had the life experience, and which I think for me has been really important, and not just the successes, but all the failures and the resilience and the emotional resilience that I've had to build. But I spend a lot of time also working on me, right? So there's a huge investment. And, while everyone else is sleeping, I'm learning. And while everyone else is doing fun shit with people, I'm learning. So there's other things that impact this. But when it comes, Simone, to making significant decisions, it's really crucial for anybody to take a structured and very thoughtful path. The only thing that's going to make a difference is at the speed at which you do that. Okay? So you definitely don't want to be a freaking tortoise, but you may not want to be a hare all the time, right? So first you need to clearly define what it is that you're deciding on, and more importantly, why it matters. Okay? That's really important. That means understanding the key outcomes that you aim to achieve and the factors that the decisions actually influence. Okay, really important. And I'm not sure I want to talk a huge amount about this because that's really the key, right? But the next step is to then gather, and this comes back to your analytical, and I am quite analytical, as you know. The next step is then to gather all the relevant information you can, right? And again, at what speed do you do it, right? So this could involve collecting data, insights from the market, research, financial projections, right? Or even feedback from key stakeholders. And to me, that's really important metrics, the feedback from your stakeholders, right? Internal, external, wherever it might be, right? So, and sometimes for me, it's also consulting industry experts and advisors. So as a chair of 2 very large companies, a hospital and engineering firm, just to name 2 out of the 5, there is a lot of areas that I don't understand. So I will actually go and seek out advisors, expert advisors, and normally what I do at the board level, because I'm chair, I invite them once I like them. I invite them to become a member of the board, right? And so because I want to bring that expertise to the table, but I don't assume just because they've got the expertise that I don't have to go and learn more, because that's my control freak nature, right? So, and also my desire to want to learn more. So once you have all the necessary information, you can explore all the different courses of action. And it's important to look beyond the obvious choices, Simone, and consider all the range of alternatives, right? So include some creative or even unconventional ideas that might lead to a better outcome. And you can do that at a board level or within an organization by having a diverse management team. That is why gender balances need to be there. You need to have you can't have a whole group of men, right, making decisions for a whole group of women, which is what it was once in the 1950s and beyond, right? So you need the divergent thinking because people bring different things. Age groups make a huge difference. Like I'm a big believer in having a range of ages on a management team, hence why we build layers of leadership in all the organizations, no matter how small or how big, when I advise, right? Because again, it's that divergent thinking. It's having that diversity around you. Cultures make a huge difference to how you build your culture, right? Having that diverse metric, okay? So again, that's also what happens when you're thinking. So the other thing that's really important when you combine all that together, it's actually after making the decision, right? A lot of people don't give this much thought, but after making the actual decision, you've got to put it into action. So many people go, I've made my decision, and then they do nothing with it, right? They don't even delegate it, right? So you've got to
Mm.
develop a clear plan. And you're probably laughing because you're thinking of some of our clients and why we made some of the changes. That's why we built the game plan that had to be every 4 weeks, because they did so much amazing work and made so many great decisions in the intensive. And then it's kind of like, oh yeah, we'll mastermind a bit more and we'll forget about that. No way, right? Like I haven't sworn. Oh my god, I just withheld myself twice, right? But I think that's really important. So you need to monitor. So you need to make the decision, but in order to make the decision, once you've made it, you need to have a plan, and you need to have a plan so you can implement your choices, right? And what's
Mm.
important there is you actually got to define who's responsible for what. You got to set the timelines, and you've also got to allocate all the necessary resources. Now, um, just something that's coming quickly to mind that people might be able to relate to. I think last week or so I talked about Apple, right? But I want to talk about Apple again. Apple's decision to switch from Power PC processors to Intel in its Mac computers is actually a prime example of strategic decision making. Okay, I'm a little bit
Mm.
nerdy and I love case studies, so I love diving into this stuff. The critical decision involved in actually extensive technical evaluation as well as the risk assessment, but took a lot of strategic planning. Okay, the switch actually allowed Apple to produce much faster and more efficient machines, but also significantly impacting their market competitiveness as well as consumer satisfaction. So, again, that was something that they didn't want to do, but they took all of that into consideration and they worked together, and then they put a really cool strategic plan together to execute it. So, I think that if I have to summarize my response to your question in terms of how I do it, I mean, that's the process I use. I just do it at such speed because of all those reasons.
Mm.
But developing a decision making framework that actually provides you with some kind of standardized process for your team is really important. You've got to foster an environment where decisions are actually routinely backed by data, right? Rigorously analyzing things, I think, is really important. And then have regular or implement regular reviews of all those key decisions to just see how it's going so you can refine other decision making processes over time. I mean, that to me is where I think we have, where my brain, right, are constantly fine tuning. Maybe I don't make that
Yeah.
clear to my team all the time, but I know what I'm doing in my own head. And that's probably the next
Yeah.
step of
Okay.
evolution for us.
Yeah, well, I think within that, you kind of already addressed my second question, so I'm going to change this around a bit.
Yeah.
And I think this is really relevant. What would you say to people that say, "Oh, I don't do any of that with my decision-making processes. Everything I do is intuitive led, and it is just I go with what feels right and what I think is right in the moment, and sometimes this is really just shiny things that come up, right? We see this all the time, but if people are feeling very intuitive led, what would you say to them about their decision making processes?
There is nothing wrong with intuition, okay?
Mm.
But you could be lying to yourself. You could be so emotionally engaged with that situation that just going with your own intuition without having any backed up data, without considering other people's position on it, very dangerous. And even myself, who has such diverse and divergent experience, I rarely just go with what people call their gut instinct. Right? It might look
Mm.
like it sometimes. And I think this is the best advice I can give. It might look like someone is doing that, but every great leader that I have met, every person I have studied, does not make decisions like that. And I
Mm.
used to use that same bullshit excuse. I make all my decisions by my intuition when I was young,
Yeah.
and it cost me everything, 30 odd million
Mm.
dollars, and I was living on a couch surfing in other people's houses, right? Like
Yeah.
and why? Because I believed that the tech company would boom. I took my eyes off the prizes of other things. I made poor decisions, you know.
Or do you think maybe like ego and a little bit of arrogance comes into that sometimes then with your
Can I
intuition and making decisions?
absolutely? I think for a lot of
Mm.
people, ego gets in the way, I vent my ego out before I make a decision. So, like for
Mhm.
example, let's say you guys say something to me that pisses me off. I'll get my ego up and my back gets up. I might say something, but then I don't make that decision. It's not like I'm making a decision. I'm processing, and then I'll go away and think about it. Like sometimes when we mastermind, when we're in the intensives, um, you know, I have a good 10, 15 minutes to listen to what someone is saying. So I'm not
Mhm.
it's not my intuition. I'm processing. Then the whole collective has their chance to say whatever it is. And then I basically pull that together and go, here's what you need to do. Right? It's not
Yeah.
coaching because that's why I would say to people, I don't coach. You guys coach. We have a coaching
Mm.
team like you, Bonnie, Adrian, right? Like, but not me. I'm not a coach. Like, and I
Mm.
say this all the time to people. I am. I'm a leader and I'm an advisor, right? Like, yes, I can help
Mhm.
you go from A to B and from B to Z, no problem, because I'm a strategist. But I'm not going to hold your hand um, and coach you through it, right? I'm going to show you how to get there, and then other people in the team will guide you. I'll explain the why. Do you understand? Like I'll say,
Mm.
this is where you're at. This is where you want to be. This is why you need to do it, and these are the steps you need to take. You can either make them on your own, or you can use the team to do it, or the collective. And I think that goes back to what I said earlier about the lessons. When you bring that whole tribe together, and I think I made this comment after the last intensive. It takes a tribe to raise a leader, right? Well,
Mm.
guess what? What did I say? I said I'm the guy everyone's raising, right? And yet I'm the leader of the tribe. So it's kind of, you know, you've got to me. I learned so much from everybody else, but again, I put that in the memory vault, and then I'm able to supplement it. And then I think the key is giving people the tools, right? Giving people those
Mm.
tools so they can succeed is even more important. And as business owners, it's tough. As entrepreneurs, it's even tougher. People say, Christian, is there a distinction between a business owner and an entrepreneur? Yes, there is. It's a mindset, right? And entrepreneurs make a lot of mistakes because they do run on intuition, they do run on ego, um, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's arrogance, Simone. I mean, there are arrogant, egotistical narcissists out there. I'm certainly not one of those.
Mm.
I think that I can be mistaken as being arrogant sometimes because I'm incredibly confident about what I do, and so people just assume that. And I also like nice things. So then people go, "Oh, look, he's got what he has," and it's like, mate, I have what I have because I work hard, right? And
Mm.
I've done it over and over again. But if I so that's the and someone might say, well, that's arrogant. Well, that's not arrogant, right? I'm not imposing my lifestyle on you. Um, ultimately, it's the things people don't see that actually bother me, and I get quite shitty about when I say to people, You're judging someone, not me. I'm saying I hate people who judge. Like I really dislike it because I don't judge anyone. Okay, I've never been
Mm.
one to judge anyone, and yet I've been judged my whole life, right? And from
Yeah.
an early age, and so it took a lot of things to break through that cycle, But I've had to invest in that. We've got the amazing Karim from the Bokta Method, Superman TEDx USA, and also Mornington Peninsula, uh, of all places. But Karim, is a hypnotherapist, and you know he's a really cool dude, and he has helped so many people break through those limiting beliefs and those cycles that even overcoming great PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
And I mean it's kind of mind blowing. I mean, then we've got hugely amazing people like Nicole Lynch, who is a chiropractor now, neuroscientist. You know, finding new ways to help people with chronic pain that's not
Yeah.
medication. Like, I mean, so I look
Mm.
at all these people and they blow my mind, right? And
Yeah, I think this is
yeah,
really interesting and kind of just developing into the last thing I wanted to ask you today. And that's around having that sounding board and having the right people around you when you're wanting to make a decision or to bounce ideas off, like you were explaining before with mentors and other people. How important is it, or what are the benefits to having a sounding board to help you with this decision making process?
How
Because
long
I
have
feel
we?
like this could
How
go
long have
both
we been on?
ways,
We've already
right?
been on for 30 minutes. All right, I'm going to try and answer
I
this
know, but
as quick.
if I think about myself personally, sometimes I know I've really reserved reaching out to a sounding board because I didn't want their influence on my decision. But I also know that I'm the type of person that's easily influenced by people. So I'm mindful of when I bounce decisions around, is this actually going to take away from what I want, or is this going to contribute and help me to
Look,
making a better decision?
the problem with you, the problem that I see with you in relation to the sounding board thing is fear. It's not actually. It's not that you don't want them to impact you. It's the fear. You're also scared that they might not like your idea. They might think that what you're saying is shit, right? That's your
Mm.
past, right? And you get I'm being it's like we're doing a
Yeah,
consultation,
yeah.
but the truth is we spend almost every day working together, so I know you inside out in this area, and it's like this morning when I said to you, the resistance, right? Lean into the fucking resistance. There you go. Took me 30 minutes to swear, but you need to lean into it because this was like Don from Tudors SA, who's now an amazing contributor to the tribe, and Don was really fearful because he was one of my one-on-one clients, high-end strategy work, loved it. He's super intelligent. He's got a PhD. So, being in a room with me and him and other key people, he loves that, right? Because it's like, yeah. But then when he came in the group, he just got that divergent thinking. And it's like, oh
Mm.
my God, this is like the best. And why? Because he gets uplifted, right? And he was so scared to come and bring his challenges to other people. So, it's that imposter syndrome. We talked about imposter syndrome, right? So
Yeah.
we all have it. And the question then is, it's not that you're worried about having your idea influenced. It's the fact that you are scared, right? Like the whole idea of
Mm.
having a sounding board, and in our environment, is because I have a total no bullshit policy, right? And I know, what do we say to people when you're the head of enrollments? When it's like, hey, if you can't be told that you're stupid or you're wrong, right? Then you can't join. Like it's that simple, right? Now I don't
Yeah.
actually go, hey, you're stupid, right? But because it's
You
look,
will be told that's a dumb idea. You should
yes,
not do that.
yes, that happens. But I don't actually, because I don't actually believe anyone is stupid unless they do something
Mm.
really stupid. People aren't stupid, right? Like, I was watching something the other day. It's like, people are always stupid, right? And I'm thinking, I used to think that all the time. I used to actually think people were stupid until I realized that people aren't actually stupid. They're scared, right?
Mm.
And you're only stupid when you allow that fear to grip you so tightly that you can't make any decisions. And decisions of, who was it I was talking to this morning? No, yesterday. And I was saying, they were actually saying, I can't believe people don't just throw money at you in customers in demand, right? And I was like, oh, why is that? And it's just like, because it's $110 a week and they get to hang out with you for 30 minutes a week on a live call. That in itself is worth $110. I said, fuck, what are you saying? I'm that cheap, right? And, and the reality of it is, what they were trying to get at is the energy that they can feed off. This is a client of ours, right? The energy that
Mm.
they can get in that 30 minutes, it elevates them not for the entire day, but because my call is on a Thursday, it gets them going for the whole weekend. And so they level up, right? And what's that leveling up worth? Well, it's worth more than $110 a week, right?
Mm.
And the thing is, because then I call people out, like it's like, hey, you are not doing this. Why are you not doing it? And that's because I care. Does that make sense? And
Mm.
now what's happening in our tribe, and you're seeing this, we talked about this this morning. People are starting to, even in their responses, they're not being me. They're being themselves with their own unique personality, but the way that they're coming across, it's like, who was it? Someone, I won't say who, but one of our members,
Ah.
one of our members has had an epiphany moment at the intensive, realized that they've got a location, they need to fill it, and the first thing they messaged was, I found another location. Should I take that over as well? And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? Before I could comment, I like to see what everyone says in the private group. And people were giving really good feedback that would be in line with what I would say now. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, you guys are learning. And that was like Karim and Nicole, and people that have been there for a while now. So it's
Mm.
so cool to see that. And so that's what a sounding board brings you. It's not, and this is why you've also got to have a rhythm, right? Like, for us, That's what it is. It's a rhythm. Like every quarter we get together and every month we get together. And so your sounding board knows your business intimately. So they can actually say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Simone, that's a really dumb idea. Why are you doing that? Go back, focus on what you're doing. You're making really good money. Because, one of the biggest motivators for this financial year for us is that I've made a huge commitment to make everyone money, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
really amp it up. I really want to jam up the dollars because I want to transform people's lives. Now, most of them already have transformed their lives financially,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, but I want to give them more. And because that puts pressure on me, it then dumps pressure back on you guys as a team when I'm creating all this new shit. And then it's like, you're like, but we don't have a process for it. And I'm like, get on with it. No substitute for speed. And you're like, oh, I want to fucking kill you. Right. But because you're too respectful, you just give me the face and not the swearing. But the thing is, I know that about all of you. Right. And so that's where I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, how am I going to push these people? And sometimes, yes, I push people too fucking hard. Get over it, is what I say. And I say that to our own tribe. Now, you imagine having someone in your corner who cares that much about you. And this is not just me, it's anyone. You've got to find these people that cares so much about you that they would go to war with you. Does that make
Mm.
sense? And actually stand by your side when not just the good shit. We have people that have turbulent times. We go in hard and help them, right? Like no one gets left behind. Right, like, and that's the value of that sounding board, not just the random sounding board that you get. That's what a mentor is different to an advisor in a tribe. Okay, so
Yeah.
the advisor can also provide you with expertise and experience that you lack. That's kind of
Mm.
like Karim. I love Karim says this all the time. He's like, Christian, not only are you one of the best strategic people, and he's Karim. It was a bit of a coaching. Prostitute. Like he kind of, and he doesn't mind me saying this because he says it. Karim basically spent 5 years and had 1.6 coaching, 6 coaches, right at the same time.
Mm.
Like was just spending. And then and
Mm.
when he says, he goes, mate, it took me a year to stop spending with others until it sunk into my head that I only needed you, right? And it's
Mm.
like you don't need that many people. You need people with different skill sets. But that's what we've tried to do. We've got Bonnie with all the marketing coaching, right? So, and the
Mm.
advantage is that Bonnie also owns a media company with me. So
Yeah.
she's also an owner, right? So she understands pain points. You bring sales and leadership and systems and processes and finance, right? Adrian brings, sales and emails listings and LinkedIn. So we've brought the whole package. And then we own an outsourcing company, so we can even outsource all your administrative tasks, right? So,
Yeah.
why? And so people always say to me, why did you build this thing? I built it for my clients. I built, Christian 4.0 or 5 pack and point oh, whatever evolution I'm at right now, is a person who's learnt from those 80 ventures and worked out how do you pull them together, right? And a lot of my mentors originally, when I started building this out 5, 6 years ago, like, you're doing it again. You're going out and you're building 15, 16 companies. And I'm like, no, I'm not. These might all look different, but they serve one common purpose. And that's what's happened because I understood
Mm.
purpose. So, that's the other thing that and I know for a fact there are not that many people that have built what we built, like in the world,
Mm.
because no one has deeply thought about why they wanted to do it. And so that's what the sounding board brings too. If you get the right sounding board, the right people, why do companies have boards? Because they don't have all the expertise, right? And so I go back to my
Yeah.
point as a chair, and also, I used to be on boards as a board person, as a member of the board, an independent board member, and just in the last 5 years, I'm in demand to being a chair. The truth, I don't really like being a chair because I have to shut up, right? Like, and I have to listen to everybody else. And so that's where the mastermind concept really played out for me, because I was like, I have to shut up. Like, you've seen me. I sit down, I'm like, oh my God, I've got the answer already, right? And then all of a
Oh,
sudden,
it's the
someone will
best
say,
part of my day when I get to chair those meetings and tell you when you are and aren't allowed to
oh,
speak. I do enjoy that.
and I'm there with my own timer to make sure you're not jipping me off. But so everyone plays different roles, and I didn't think that I could be a chair, and then
Mm.
in fairness, I think I've become a pretty good chair. I'm not great at it, right? And it's because I don't put any more work that I should in it. and I've been a chair in the private sector for a long time. You know, I was very blessed that a couple of people from the Australian Institute of Company Directors actually watch our hot seat, and you know they've asked me to consider applying to become a fellow, which is a huge honour,
Mm.
right? But you know, I've looked at the paperwork, and like I said to them, I said I don't qualify. I'm not you know in charge of a $30 million company, and I'm not actually a director on paper. They've got a very strict process, and you know, and they said to me, "But Christian, you have so much experience." I'm like, yeah, but I
Mm.
don't rely on people bending the rules for me. The rules are there for those reasons. And yes, you know, the fellows were given away to a bunch of old guys many years ago for without the structure, and that's why you put the structure in. Don't bend the rules, you know. Um,
Oh, I think that could be another hot seat topic entirely, talking about life experience versus qualifications
yeah.
and things like that. There's
Look,
there's a
I
lot to
want to
unpack on
just
that as
share one
well.
thing before we wrap up because I know we've gone
Yeah.
way over time. Um, you know, to effectively use a sounding board, Simone, and this is really important to everyone listening who's considering either creating an advisory board or a proper board for their business or joining a group. To effectively use a sounding board, you've got to regularly engage with the group. That's really important, and not just when
Mm.
decisions arise, but as part of the whole strategic planning process. You've got to be an open book to feedback, and even when it's challenging, all of your assumptions, right? And you need to ensure that you create that diverse group culture that can offer a very wide range of insights, right? And I think like what you've done really well in the program is that you have via consultation um, been able to create a process that is quite formal in the decision making process, right? So people know where they can ask, how they can ask, they can feel safe that they can ask, and also safe that they can give feedback. So there's a lot of really good value in that, and well, they're great. This was awesome, and I hope people really got value out of that because it was very powerful. All I keep looking at is this huge exclamation mark saying it's not streaming to Facebook. So apologize to all the people in our business growth secrets group. You're going to have to go on LinkedIn and YouTube to watch it later. Oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Christian Lavolsi, please do so. I'm like a tether away from 1,000 subscribers. My son is going to go off because he wants me to get a badge, but a badge is like 100,000. So we're only 100 times away. So I got to do 100 time growth in order to get there. As you can see, I'm laughing because it's not my jam. But I think yeah, we're really close, and we've grown a lot actually in the last 6 to 8 weeks. So the hot seats are resonating, the shorts are resonating with people, and we're really engaging with people, which is really amazing. And I think our growth on Instagram has been nuts, like because we've changed
Mm.
our approach, and that's something you've been working on. You're time stamping this stuff and picking out all the rants and grabbing the bits that you know. I know, and I want to finish on this. One of my clients chaired their own quarterly intensive for their team, and they used the video that you surprised me with shooting about this and that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they
Did
used it.
they?
They used it. How dare she? They used it for their whole leadership team, and showed mine. They all had a bit of a chuckle and a laugh, and then they actually did that exercise as an icebreaker, pre-intensive. And I
Oh,
thought that was actually a
cool.
really clever idea. I forgot. I don't think I've told you. So it just reminded me now. So yeah,
Oh,
that
I
was
just
really
saw it
cool.
pop up in our comments with Belinda. We love you, Belinda. Christian rant. Never.
Oh, Belinda, you are here. You've been silent for 40 minutes. You know, I can't
Oh,
believe. You know,
it's
there's a
so
button that
cool. I
says
love the
ban.
idea that they're using that content to use in their teams and with their own leadership. And you actually had no idea that I was going to do that to you on a
No.
Hey Christian call. So there's a second edition of that. I might have
Hey,
to put that
by the
up
way,
in
we
the
haven't done
weeks
a Hey
coming.
Christian session in a while. Like you haven't like decided to call me and annoy me for the whole week so far. It's
Mm,
Tuesday, so and I'm flying. Remember, so you won't be able to get access to me come Thursday.
that's okay. I think
Yeah.
I'm all right with no access for a couple of days.
I'm sure you got plenty to work on. All right, we better bounce because I've got
That's
calls,
right.
and so you.
Well, Christian Lavalsi, this has been the hot seat. I've really enjoyed unpacking everything about decision making. I think it's such an important topic and one that we probably don't even really think about before we're making decisions or who we're bouncing ideas off. So, thank you as always for your time and your insights for this week's episode of the hot seat. We'll be back next Tuesday, and you're going to be in Manila for our
Yes,
next
so I'll
call.
be doing this from Manila, and hopefully the internet connection in the hotel it works because the internet can be quite fluctuating. But we've done calls before and that works. So I've got a meeting room booked in the exec lounge. So I'll be out there looking at McCarthy while we do the jam session. All right, Simone, thank you so much.
Amazing.
You have an amazing day.
Thank
And
you.
everyone listening, you guys are awesome. We don't do it just because we love being here. We do it for you. And, other than Belinda, it'd be great if someone actually ever typed anything instead of just sitting there watching because we can see the number of people live and those numbers are increasing every single week, which is really cool. So thank you. And hit the like button, hit the little bell thing, and subscribe to YouTube, please. I want to get to the 1,000. So Leonardo, while he's on school holidays, can be super pumped and excited. And maybe we'll get him on an episode too. And he's my biggest fan, and I love him so much. All right.
Thanks, Christian.
See you guys.